tomorrow's leaders. Give it up for them. Urban Leaguers, good evening and welcome to Cleveland. Now, Cleveland is sometimes called the Forest City, the land. Give it up for the land. And the capital of rock and roll. And welcome to the 2025 National Urban League Conference. I start by expressing overwhelming gratitude and esteem for the remarkable, incomparable President and CEO of the Urban League of Cleveland, Marcia Maccabee. On behalf of the entire Urban League movement, Marcia, we are proud of your transformative work and the vibrant communities that the Urban League of Greater Cleveland is helping to build and to grow. So at this time, let's once again give Marcia a warm round of applause. I'm so grateful. You are an inspiration. And to your board chair and all of the members of your board of directors, your staff, and all the volunteers and people who work and serve the Urban League of Cleveland. If all of you, Kevin, come on, stand now. We want to recognize the Cleveland team. All of you, thank you. Thank you. Cleveland, Ohio. Let's take a moment to acknowledge the loss in April of a gifted servant, an esteemed colleague, and a cherished friend. She served as senior vice chair of the Urban League, National Urban League Board, that is Alexis Herman, who left us in April, who served as the first Black woman to lead the United States Department of Labor, served in corporate America on numerous boards, was a wise advisor to me like a big sister who always was dropping wisdom, expertise, insight, and she always had, y'all, the tea on everything. So let's take a moment of silence to remember Alexis Herman. Thank you. Now, Chair Murphy and all the National Urban League trustees, William Barnes, and all the affiliate CEOs, Tyler Litt, and all of our young professionals, Angela Simmons-Smith, and all the Gilder Sushen, and all the affiliate board members, all Urban League staffers, volunteers, corporate partners, I demand that you stand at this time to be properly recognized. If all of you would stand, you are the Urban League movement. You are the family that drives this movement in 92 cities across the nation. Do better than that. Give yourselves a real warm cheer and a round of applause. Now, Cleveland has given us Dorothy Dandridge, Screaming Jay Hawkins, Langston Hughes, Toni Morrison, Jesse Owens, and Jim Brown. Cleveland also gave us the legendary Carl and Louis Stokes. As many know, and some may not know, Cleveland has a proud history as a cradle of the abolitionist movement. In the 19th century, the Western Reserve, originally a part of the colony and later the state of Connecticut, was known as the most intensely anti-slavery section of the country. It was the Underground Railroad Station Hope, the last stop on one of the main routes to freedom. And as we convene here today to confront a new and growing threat to democracy, civil rights, and equal opportunity, let Cleveland once again be known as Station Hope, a stop on the road to freedom. It's my privilege each year to open the National Urban League Conference with remarks that we call the State of the Urban League. This year, in addition, we are releasing the State of Black America report, which will be discussed in more detail at tomorrow morning's plenary. And we've added that report this year in an effort to give it broader readership and visibility. I want each of you to know, as the State of Black America report makes clear, we are in a state of emergency in this nation. The important gains that this nation has made in the last 70 years in civil rights, social and economic justice, yes, they are at risk. 70 years ago, in 1954, on May 17th, 9 courageous men, I might add all white, I might add all born in the 1800s, did something considered disruptive and historic. They decided that it was time to say that segregation violated the United States Constitution, and they struck it down as the law of the land. From that point forward, the hard work of generations of people, they litigated, they marched, they bled, they fought, they struggled, and they gave us an America in the second half of the 20th century, which was far different than the first half. It was America which was more open. It was an America which was trying to find the true meaning of the words, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all people are created equal. Those gains, the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, the War on Poverty, the Community Reinvestment Act, all of these are now under withering attack. And I'll talk to you about that in a moment, but before doing so, let me make another additional observation. 60 years ago, this week, a joint committee of the United States Senate and House were in deep negotiations on a significant piece of that civil rights history. The Voting Rights Act of '65 would be signed into law 3 weeks later on August 6th, 1965. The late Lyndon Johnson, great president for civil rights, said at the time that for 2.5 centuries, the history of our nation and the history of Black Americans were like two great rivers flowing along divided channels. It was only at Appomattox, he said, the decisive victory in the Civil War, when the two rivers, one shining with promise and the other dark stained with oppression, began to move towards one another. He called the Voting Rights Act a towering and certain mark that in this generation ensured that the promise of Appomattox would be kept. 60 years later, I'm not proud to report. In fact, I'm disgusted to report that not only has that promise not been kept, that those two great rivers are now moving further apart. One of the great points of divergence occurred 5 years ago when the COVID-19 pandemic, coronavirus pandemic, exposed the racial fault lines within our economy, our healthcare institutions, and our justice systems. However, we can be proud that at that moment, this Urban League movement pivoted to meet the challenge of those times. We sounded the alarm. In fact, we were one of the first to sound the alarm about the devastatingly disproportionate impact of the disease. Less able to access quality health care, highly likely to encounter systemic racism in the healthcare system. Black Americans were more than 3 times as likely to contract the virus and nearly twice as likely to die from it. Black communities bore the economic brunt of the pandemic as well, with Black-owned businesses closing at twice the rate of those owned by others. The National Urban League, our voice, the voice of our affiliates, we exposed this imbalance of the pandemic's economic toll and the racial injustice in the beginning of the federal government's response. Into this powder keg of grief and economic despair, the murder of George Floyd felt like a lit match. 5 years ago, in the time of this intense crisis, the National Urban League and the Urban League movement embarked on one of the most significant and impactful advocacy and direct relief campaigns in our history. The Urban League Fights for You. The Urban League embarked upon one of its largest commitments to equity in partnership with the Centers for Disease Control, and with more than 40 affiliates actively participating, we once again became first responders. What did you do, Urban League affiliates? We facilitated more than 120,000 COVID-19 and influenza vaccinations during the first year of this initiative. You hosted more than 850 events and clinics. We trained 15,000 community members as vaccine ambassadors. We established almost 5,000 vaccine sites. When others talked, we acted. When others intellectualized, we made a difference. When others stood on the side, we jumped into the fray. Urban League affiliates, I congratulate your incredible work during that very difficult time in American history, and you deserve another applause for that work. Technical team, check this screen, please. After George Floyd's murder, as protesters filled the streets to denounce racism and demand justice, the National Urban League acted once again. We created our Equitable Justice and Strategic Initiatives Division to advocate for a justice system rooted in fairness that protects and serves and restores all communities. EJSI, as we call the division, led the way as we push for the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. EJSI led the way as we developed a true action plan called 21 Pillars for redefining public safety and restoring community trust. A framework for criminal justice advocacy, and carried that message to towns and cities in partnership with our affiliates across the nation. EJSI became our voice to enable our affiliates to weigh in on police and justice system reform by organizing advocacy days, meetings with elected officials, building coalitions and partnerships. EJSI led our historic Reclaim Your Vote civic engagement campaigns in 2020, 22, and 2024. I want all of you to know that in the last 5 years, the National Urban League acted in response to a great American crisis. Together, our civic engagement effort reached millions of people, registering, educating, and turning them out to vote. And now EJSI is leading our efforts in the criminal records expungement area to help more people restore their lives and rejoin the workforce. In the last 5 years, we did not stop there. We were among the driving forces behind President Biden's historic Lift Every Voice initiative. We were among the driving forces behind the selection of Kamala Harris and Ketanji Brown Jackson. We were among the driving forces in ensuring that record numbers of African Americans and African American women will be appointed to the federal courts of appeal. Our advocacy helped pass the largest road and bridge building program in American history. And we ensured that municipal water systems and broadband would be included in that. That plan matched our Main Street Marshall Plan, and we were the first to call for such an initiative. Joe Biden and his team heard us, and in a form of great respect, copied our plan and built it into law. Urban Leaguers, it was your plan. And our advocacy helped pass the largest investment in manufacturing in American history. We also helped to elevate, expand, and make permanent the Minority Business Development Agency, which was founded in the 70s by a great urban leaguer named Bob Brown. And its first undersecretary was another great urban leaguer, Don Cravens. Our advocacy urged the Department of Justice to do its job, and they launched dozens of investigations into brutal and corrupt law enforcement. It brought the killers of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd to justice. We've just completed an analysis of the social and economic impact of the Urban League movement, and I am proud to report that our programs in 2024 serve 6.4 million people, the largest number in Urban League history. What does that include? 100,000 students better prepared for college, work, and life. 60,000 connected to jobs, and 30,000 entrepreneurs grow or start their business. Don't let anyone ask you what the Urban League does. I'm just stating facts. And as we say back way down yonder in New Orleans, I'm facting, not acting right now. You know, we're not a think tank. We're not a talk tank. We're a what? Do tank. Say do tank. Urban League leaders, you can take pride in this collective impact because you are making a difference in the lives of people. People who are locked out, people who are left out, people aspiring for a better life. Let me turn to this moment at hand. This conference is a time to reflect on our work, energize the movement, convene leaders from across the civil rights community. But I cannot ignore the state of emergency that threatens our nation, our community, and the communities we serve and we love. See, a democracy that is willing to destroy itself rather than deliver justice is a democracy in crisis. This is the terrifying reality that we confront in 2024. State of emergency is not rhetorical flourish. It's an honest reckoning with a government that is increasingly determined to sacrifice its founding principles, equality, liberty, and justice, rather than accept the truth of a diversifying nation and deliver real, meaningful, equal, and equitable opportunity to all. When we released the State of Black America report entitled A State of Emergency, Civil Rights, Democracy, and Progress Under Attack, it will lay bare, in explicit terms, a deliberate, coordinated campaign to reverse decades of progress. In 2025 alone, federal departments protecting civil rights have been defunded, voting rights protections rolled back, and diversity programs criminalized. Far-right actors have weaponized the term woke to attack civil rights and even historical truth. The DOJ's Civil Rights Division, founded in the 1950s, once a champion for justice, has become a tool of political retaliation. As social media platforms roll back safety policies, hate speech surges. And progressive voices and civil rights voices are being silenced. Here in Cleveland, the National Urban League commits that we will rise to meet this moment of crisis in America. We will not shirk from our historic responsibility to the principles that were given to us by George Edmund Haynes and Ruth Standish Baldwin. And our framework of collective activism is what we call D3, defend democracy, demand diversity, and defeat poverty. We fought and will continue to fight the imposition of a federal budget, the big, ugly bill that inflicts historic destruction and harm on working families, deepens inequality, and undermines civil rights protections. We've launched a Fair Budget Coalition, a new alliance of civil rights, economic justice advocates, and policy experts. What I say about the big, ugly bill, we call on our leaders today here in Cleveland. I want you to commit to repeal and replace it. Put that bill on the trash bins of history before it hurts right here in Cleveland and Cuyahoga County. The impact of the cuts in Medicaid on the historic Cleveland Clinic, Metro Health Systems, people who live all throughout this region, numbers in the hundreds of thousands of people. There are mothers who want to have their new child in a safe and protected environment. They're senior citizens trying to live out the last chapter of their life here on earth in a safe and decent nursing home. They're school-aged children dealing with autism or asthma or hearing or learning disabilities who, when Medicaid is wiped out, can't go to the doctor because they can't afford it. Forget the political rhetoric, forget the nomenclature, forget the names. We're talking about people. We're talking about people like you and me. We're talking about our neighbors, our family members, and our friends. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't let this go down. We can't sleep through this. It was unneeded and unnecessary because it was all about one single thing, and that is to give huge economic benefits, and stay with me on this number, the less than 1,000 billionaires that live in America. Less than 1,000 billionaires. 350 million Americans are going to pay the cost for 1,000 billionaires to get huge economic benefits. That's what was at the core of this big, ugly bill. We issued our own Main Street Tax Initiative. We issued our own comprehensive tax plan. We said, why not cut taxes for those Americans who make under $100,000 a year? That's 85% of Americans. The Urban League, we don't just criticize, we propose. We don't just throw stones and rocks at what we don't agree with. We offer constructive alternatives and work hard to implement them. We illuminated the seismic shifts also this year with our George Floyd 5 years later report. Was it a moment or a movement? We delivered an analysis of the wins and the setbacks and the urgent work ahead as the nation continues grappling with systemic racism. We're leading the challenge against the federal government's anti-equity executive orders. We filed lawsuits. We've worked with a set of like-minded attorney generals. We built a demand diversity roundtable, which includes African Americans, Latinos, Asians, white organizations, bringing everyone together. And that effort, led by our Washington Bureau, is going to continue as we try to say that diversity, equity, inclusion are an American value, Diversity, equity, and inclusion are about equal opportunity. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is worth standing up for in America today because it's about you, it's about me, it's about our children. It's not just a term, it's a value proposition. Eugene Kinkle Jones, former great late leader of this organization, advised, and I say today, we're going to fight. And we're going to fight till hell freezes over, and then we'll fight on the ice. Equal opportunity is our birthright. And the principle of equal opportunity, my good sister Melanie Campbell, is not negotiable. We don't negotiate away our birthright as American citizens to participate fully in the American economy, to have the job, to have the education, to own the home, to build a business, to get the loan, to sit in the C-suite, to serve in the courts. In America in 1965, 100% of the C-suites of Fortune 500 companies, every single position was held by a white man. The Congress, the legislatures, the movie studios, the great universities, it was the same exact picture. Now, some 60 years later, our nation looks different. And our nation is better for it. Our economies are stronger. Our global reach is greater. And this effort to undermine this basically undermines the future of this nation as a great global power. It's bigger than just American civil rights. It's about whether this nation can be competitive on the world stage. We need every boy and girl, be they black, white, Hispanic, Asian, indigenous, every boy and girl develop to the fullest extent of their ability to contribute to this economy and contribute to this society. We cannot throw anybody away. And that's what this fight is all about. We're rising to meet this challenge in this moment. And we're returning very soon to the community that gave birth to our movement. As we left New York to come to Cleveland, the National Urban League staff began to pack boxes as we bid a bittersweet goodbye to our offices at 80 Pine Street in Lower Manhattan. We are now prepared to move into our new home, the Urban League Empowerment Center in Harlem, USA. And that center embodies the very heart of our mission: ownership and empowerment. We said it's one thing to say, stop redlining the Harlems and the East Clevelands and the South Sides of Chicago. But we said instead of telling everybody to stop doing it, let's go green line the neighborhood ourselves. Why can't we build a great project with affordable housing, with first-class retail, with a civil rights museum? Why can't we own it and develop it ourselves? This new home is a statement of what this Urban League movement means to this nation. The return to Harlem says we're going to go back to where we founded and invest in that neighborhood and make it greater than ever before. What does that building represent? We now have 170 families who are in affordable apartments in that building. We now have partner organizations, Studio Museum, United Negro College Fund, Virginia Union University will open the first HBCU campus in New York when they locate in our building. And we did this building with a partnership. Black developers working with majority developers, financial advisors and lawyers, and owners' representatives who were African Americans. We did it in a way we want others to do business. Our point was, let us lead by example. Let us demonstrate what can be done. Let us show others how to do it. So it's a joyous occasion, and I want to thank the team of people in the Urban League movement, the support of Tim Murphy and our board, our corporate partners, the hardworking men and women who worked at that site for multiple years, the members of our staff. Give them a round of applause, as they are why we can do what we did. So on November 12th, we got about 500 seats available for the grand opening and ribbon cutting. But if you can't join it, we're streaming. So you can be there with us. Next year, in 2026, the 250th anniversary of the United States, we'll open our Civil Rights Museum, which will be a grand showcase of the civil rights movement in the North. Harlem, we are coming home. Harlem, we are coming home. As we launch this conference and work together to refine and strengthen our historic response, I'm reminded of Rudyard Kipling's poetic advice. Allow me to paraphrase. If we can keep our head when all about us are losing theirs and blaming it on us, if we can dream and not make dreams our master, if we can think and not make thoughts our aim, if we can meet triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, if we can talk with crowds and keep our virtue, or walk with kings and never lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt us, if all people count but none too much, if we can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, Urban Leaguers, ours is the earth, and this is our nation and everything that's in it, and which is more, we will be proud Urban Leaguers in the 21st century. So tonight, I want to remind y'all to meet us at Rocket Arena tonight. We got a big old party. So I want to see you there. You have time to go home, do a wardrobe refresh if you want, and come back over. But tonight, we're standing on shoulders. We're standing on the shoulders of Ruth Standish Baldwin and George Edmund Haynes. We're standing on the shoulders of Eugene Kinkle Jones and Lester Granger and Whitney Young and Vernon Jordan and John Jacob and Hugh Price. We're standing on the shoulders of Shirley Chisholm and Barbara Jordan and Sojourner Truth and Maya Angelou. We're standing on the shoulders of Earl Warren and Lyndon Johnson. And we're standing on the shoulders of Barack Obama. And we're standing on the shoulders of Jimmy Lee Jackson, Schwerner, Goodman, and Cheney. We're standing on the shoulders of Emmett Till and George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery. And we're standing on the shoulders of every single person who from the beginning and the founding of this nation put their heart and their soul into the fight for justice and for a better nation. Every abolitionist, every suffragist, every civil rights champion, the big names you know and the little names you don't. We're standing on their shoulders tonight. And as we stand on their shoulders, they want us to stand with our back straight. They want us to understand that no matter how difficult and how challenging these times are, they pale in comparison to what they dealt with. They pale in comparison to those that suffered through the Middle Passage and suffered through slavery. It pales in comparison to those that had to suffer the indignity of the back of the bus, the back of the train, the separate water fountain, who had to suffer the indignity of notwithstanding having a brilliant mind and great ability, could never get up the corporate ladder. We stand on their shoulders tonight. And it's a call to action, Urban Leaguers, it's a call to action for principled courage. In this moment, I am determined. I'm determined that this Urban League movement will stand up strong. We will stand up, we'll use our heads, and we'll use our hearts. And we will build a broad coalition of the willing and the able who have a different vision for the future of America. It's not a vision of division. It's not a vision of raids on workplaces. It's not a vision of voter suppression and finger pointing. It's a vision of an America which is equitable and tolerant. A vision of an America which is a multicultural democracy. A vision of America which has a big table where everyone can sit and make decisions and participate in the vision and the execution for the future of America. Can you join me in this work? Can you join me in this fight? Do you understand? Do we know what we face? This is a time for action. This is a time for us to stand up, to speak up, or respectfully to shut up. That's what this moment is. I'm inspired by the founding of the Urban League movement. I'm inspired by all of the many great people who've gone before us. And we take this responsibility and the cards we've been dealt in this moment very seriously. So Urban Leaguers, let us go forth from this conference in Cleveland anew. Let us go forth as the Urban League fights for you. Let us go forth as we defend democracy, demand diversity, and defeat poverty. So by the power vested in me, I hereby declare this National Urban League Conference in this great city of Cleveland open for business, and my name is Marc H. Morial, and I authorize this message.